Hi, I'm Joey Johnson. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer here with Premise Health. I've been in this role for 10 years now. We have a team of about 30 people and 3 major departments: a governance risk compliance department, identity access management, security operations, and assurance that all report up to me. We are a healthcare provider, right? And the healthcare provider space has its own sort of challenges from a cybersecurity perspective. And traditionally, a lot of provider organizations are struggling at their maturity point and their investment point. Here, our business model is a little bit different in that we're doing healthcare provider work for large self-insured organizations. And what that means is that we have a significant amount of security scrutiny, and we're held to a much higher bar because our clients have risk management functions that are maybe even by orders of magnitudes larger than our entire company. We have a dedicated security operations center that's manned. We have about 6,000 machines end to end that we cover. That's not quite all of our workforce, but then we also have devices including BYOD, tablets, and things like that we use for different levels of business. When I started with the organization, it was me and just one other person who actually followed me from my previous role, and we had to kind of cover all of it. It was just everything. There was a program that wasn't very mature or well implemented, and it was the typical story of a smaller organization where, you know, you're the antivirus person and the SOC person and the patching person and the server person and the network person and everything else that could possibly come your way. You're the person reviewing the contracts for legal compliance, and so it's a lot of area to try to cover. And what makes that really difficult is even, you know, when we look back 10, 12 years ago, there was no shortage of security technologies or vendors out there, a lot of which were solutions looking for problems. And we just weren't resourced, even with myself and my right-hand man, Jim Hosty, who, you know, I have a lot of confidence in him and his ability. You can only get so much done in a day. You can only evaluate so much technology. You can only implement so much technology. And so, you know, we engaged with GuidePoint years ago when we found individuals that we trust. And we trusted their technical acumen, but also just their professionalism and the way they went about it and established relationships. That was really, really important to us. And we needed a partner that we could say, hey, we're looking at this, that would not just bring us options in the market with their own perspective of kind of what was a good fit for us, but also was going to be able to openly discuss with us and challenge us in our outlook and our perspective and say, hey, are you guys even with where you're at and your maturity point looking at the right things? And in that course of time, you know, there's been conversations where it was, hey, you know, Joey, I know 3 years ago we sat down and had a similar conversation, but having seen you guys grown, I would actually direct you this way or that way versus where you were before. So, you know, that's an irreplaceable kind of relationship aspect that we developed and implemented. I have a lot of personal trust in our partner, in GuidePoint, right? The folks that I know there, I've worked with for a long time. They have my personal cell phone number. We pick up the phone and talk to each other and can work through things really quickly, right? And that only works if it's a relationship. Anybody can go between a solutions provider and a customer and generate an invoice. Anybody can do that kind of thing, but where the value comes is where you can find a partner that really knows you, knows what's important to you, knows how you want to move your organization, knows where your maturity point is, and can say, hey, for you guys, this is really the best way to go. For you guys, I think this really makes sense. Or can step in and say, hey, you know, I've seen you guys talking a little bit around this problem here and you haven't come to me with this yet, but are you aware of, you know, X, Y, and Z? Or hey, are you aware of that this solution that you already have in place introduced this new feature set that could be a solve for you? I would say categorically, one of the greatest things that's happened in our relationship with our provider is our rep came to us and said, hey, I think that you guys should look at knowing the solutions you have in place. Have you brought your partners in for quarterly business reviews to just talk about where you are with their product, to talk about how effective have you been in actually implementing it? Because I will tell you, any security leader knows you can bring technologies in, but if you're not implementing them the right way, if you're not optimizing them the right way, you don't really know what you got. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen a partner who said, hey, we're looking for this solution out there. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? And I would say, don't you already have this product? And they would say, yeah. And I'd say, well, don't you know in their newest release, they came out with all of this. It's already mostly implemented. You just need to hit the button. And they were like, well, how did you know about that? And the reason we knew was because we had that partner come in and they would say, hey, how's everything going with the product? Are you turning this reporting on? How about this? How about that feature? And we said, wow, that's awesome. we can generate even more ROI right now with a very little effort. And so sure, that had value to us as a customer, but it also had value outside of that to our colleagues, my CISO colleagues, to say, hey, you know, this is what we're doing. And they said, wow, that's really something awesome we should be doing. We should be bringing in our partners for quarterly reviews so we can get the most out of our products. That was just something simple. Something simple as a suggestion from a trusted partner to say, hey, this would bring you a lot of value. There's no dollar figure attached to that. That's just driving relationship. Our visibility definitively has increased, but my honest perspective is that's an evergreen process. As our visibility has increased, our systems posture and environment has increased, right? Our inventory is complete. Our assets have increased. Our products that are in the cloud and in different environments have continued to increase. So you're always kind of trying to catch up with it, but our ability to transition our position in the business to be at the entry point of where new technology comes in has increased. And really, I would say from our level of confidence on the percentage of what we can see and what we know is there is a lot higher. So my confidence level has grown. I mean, I know, you know, everybody kind of wants a measurement for these things, but our maturity point has grown and increased dramatically. If you think about any organization, the threat landscape is always doing two things. It's constantly increasing in its breadth, and it's constantly shifting in its tactics. So that means even if you understand what your assets are, even if you understand what you're trying to protect, the mechanisms in which you must protect them are constantly changing. So to answer the question directly about, you know, the level of confidence in our SOC's ability to kind of see and pivot with that, it's continued to increase. And I think one of the primary reasons for that is what we've done with our insourcing versus outsourcing model. A lot of organizations use an outsourced MSSP or service provider in some capacity. And I've always honestly had a perspective that the right point of consumption for an organization for those type of services is on a pendulum. The right thing at the right time is always kind of changing for your organization. What gets every organization is the contextual relevance of what's going on. You have to know what's important to your organization to know how to protect that. For us, we really looked and said, what with our limited resources of staff can we focus them on that's specifically contextually relevant to our organization? And what can we outsource to a partner who's going to do this night and day, but also know how to map that against the contextual relevance of our business? Almost every conversation was never a business conversation. It was, where are you going? What do you want to get into? And a lot of the best value really came out of us either going out to dinner or going to lunch and just saying, what are you seeing? What's going on? What's happening out there? Joey, what are you guys experiencing? You know, what are you seeing from the healthcare side? If it was just GuidePoint talking to me, that's not that valuable. I got lots of people that want to talk at me. If it was just me talking to them and barking and saying, here's what I need, why didn't you get it done? They got a lot of annoying customers that could probably do that if they wanted, as does anyone, right? So where's the value? The value comes in the relationship. It was always a conversation. It was always about value. It was always about really understanding who we were, where we were in that relationship. We had a partner that said, listen, you are asking the questions, Joey, around what you think are your requirements, but let me introduce to you 3 or more things to contemplate that should be part of your requirements, or if they're not, you should have a reason why you know that they're not part of your requirements, because I don't want you to make a decision based on a subset of information that's really critical. You can't go get that from a white paper download. You can't go get that from anywhere other than a trusted relationship. And so that's where the value is.